Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. And we've got a QSP knife that I'm very happy with for the most part. Of course, there's going to be cons on this video, but mostly this knife has got a load of pros. This is the QSP Osprey. Comes in the standard size. Blade's just 3.1 inches, so it's not under 3 inches. It's still sort of a small to medium size folding knife, and it's a liner lock, and I'm very happy with it. We've got a wire clip, 14C28N steel on there. Micarta, you can also get it in metal like brass or copper, sort of antique kind of look with milled pattern on it. You can get it with shredded carbon fiber. They've got an XL version. Hopefully I got the dimensions for those later on in the video. And the XL version's got D2 and a button lock. The price on this thing is quite good, and I'll share that later on in the video. It's definitely within the range that I generally review at. And this micarta, I am very happy with this blue micarta. So why don't you stick around? Make sure that you check out who the winners were last month, because it might be you, because I haven't heard back from the winners yet, even from December. Leo, if your name's Leo, check back if you support the channel. You won. And Mr. Fedinsky, yeah, there, I said it. You're the winner for December. For January, December was Leo Kleinzer. January is Mr. Fedinsky. And now let's get to the tabletop and check out this knife. Well, there it is. Hopefully you can see it okay against this blue background. Check out that blade. I think that looks pretty nice. We've got a slight drop point. Yeah, there's fingerprints on there. Unfortunately, that's what happens with me all the time. This satin finish is not terrible for fingerprints. I've had a whole lot worse, but my fingers leave fingerprints everywhere. Like I said, slight drop point, just the slightest swedge on the side, or chamfer on the side, not swedge, chamfer on the side of the blade. And then we get full thickness about to here, and that little chamfer continues all the way about to here, and that's when it really starts thinning out right there. So this tip's actually quite strong. It's a little bit thicker at the tip than I prefer. It gets nice and thin. The thinnest point's right about here, and then it slowly gets a little bit thicker here, and I'll give you the exact measurements later on. We've got a flat grind, a high flat grind, and not quite a full flat grind. We've got a beautiful looking blade, if you ask me, and it cuts quite well. After I sharpen it, it's going to do even better. It's sharpened okay from the factory, you know, not good. Maybe slightly below average, and that's not a QSP thing. That's pretty much every knife that I buy has problems with the factory sharpening. We've got some jimping on the spine. I'd like it to come further out. I'm one of those guys who likes to reach out here sometimes, you know, to push through things instead of keeping my thumb back here. But as far as grippiness of that jimping, it's quite nice. I'm happy with it. I like that jimping. We've got a sharpener's choil right here. A little bit small, like that's a tiny sharpener's choil. They should have made that a little bit bigger. I'd prefer if they made that bigger. I'm going to sharpen this thing a couple times, and not literally two, but you know what I mean, just a few times, and we're going to be through that sharpener's choil, and it's like they wouldn't have ever put one on there, so I'd have to manually put my own on there, and you know, I just can't make the finish look quite as nice. Well, I can. It's just an awful lot of work to make the finish look as nice on the sharpener's choil as they did, at least with the equipment I have at my house. Badging, nice and small. There's the QSP. It's on the flat. I much prefer that there instead of on the bevel, so I like the badging small. Steel type right here, 14C28N, nice and small as well. Of course, there's the QSP triangle inside a circle logo. So badging, very good. I'm very happy with the badging. How well does it cut? Well, I talked a little bit about it. You know, this is not a piercing knife, not really, but it's a pretty good knife for cutting and slicing. I'm very happy with it. The steel choice is great for a budget knife, and it's not too terribly thick. You know, it's not thin, but it's not too thick to be a problem. And again, I mentioned that already. So, hey, I've done the blade. There we go. Except for this spot right here. This is an odd shape for me, except QSP does it quite a lot right here. When it's closed, there's the flipper, and you see the front of the flipper. There's some jimping on there. It's fairly smoothed out jimping. Oh, by the way, that's not a problem. It's winter in Canada, and Alberta is pretty dry, and it cracked. So no, I'm not actively bleeding. It's just, you know, well, maybe slightly actively bleeding. I wash it off and then I notice an hour later that there's a couple little blood drops on there. Not a big deal. Back to the flipper. So the shape here looks kind of cool when it's closed. You get this nice sloping back here and it works just fine. But when it's open, you have the opposite of a place to really grip. Now you can put your finger there if you need to, and it's got this flat edge that's long enough. You know, you can do that. I just think I would prefer, you know, if it was convex instead of a bump there, that there would be, you know, a little radius in there. I think that would be more comfortable, but that's not to say that this is particularly uncomfortable, because it isn't. It's okay. Now for the handle, we've got denim micarta on here, and this is really nice. It's a flat slab denim micarta. It's got nice texture on it. We've got a slight crown on the back, you know, a little bit of an inside radius right here. I like this. We've got micarta lanyard hole back here, and it's totally inset. Now, I don't use lanyards much, but when I do, I prefer it to be inset so that when it's in my hand like this, even if it's on my thumb or my palm of my hand, the paracord just comes out the back and doesn't actually bunch and push even harder in there. So I like that. That's kind of nice. And it's a good size lanyard hole. You easily fit 550 paracord through there. No problem at all. Screws, we've got a T8 pivot screw. It's a D-shaped pivot pins, non-free spinning. That's good. We've got T6 back here. Now, you know me. I don't like T6 screws. Not at all. But if you're going to do T6 screws, do them like this. These are button screws that are not super recessed. They sit proud just a little bit, so there's not a big trench in there. And these are high quality stainless steel screws, unlike most of the cheap screws that strip out super easily. Still, you need high quality screws. If your screwdriver is just slightly off, like I often use this cheap Craftsman screwdriver, its heads are just slightly off size. I need to use these WEHA bits that I have on this thing. If I don't use these WEHA, yeah, these are WEHA bits. I also like Wera. These fit in there nicely. They sink deep enough and sit in there nicely and, you know, grab really well. There's absolutely no play in there. They just fit perfectly. You know, but this cheaper thing, there's play in there and it wants to slip. So, you know, make sure you got good quality screwdrivers, even if you buy lower priced knives. There's the pocket clip. Really nice pocket clip. I like that. That's a beautiful pocket clip. Not totally deep, but nice wire clip. Nice head on it. Nice shape. T8 screw, and it goes on either side. So there you go. That's a beautiful thing. Let's show it go into a pocket. Here we go. Whoops, upside down. Going into a pocket, it climbs over and goes to the full depth. You don't have an awful lot sticking out. So I'm very happy with this clip. I really like wire clips a lot. Blade alignment right here, not quite perfect, but very close. That's a very good blade alignment. The lockup, excellent. It's fully engaged, but not so far engaged, you know, that it's wasting steel. But, you know, lockup's great. No blade placed side to side, up and down. Lock release, we've got some jipping on the top of it and a little bit of a cutout here, but it's enough. You can get your thumb in there and disengage that lock, push up a little bit, get your thumb out of the way, and close the knife. It's very easy to use this knife. I'm quite happy with it. It's not a fidgeter's friend, really. It's not like a super fidgety knife, but it's a very good usable knife. Well, let's take this thing apart and show you how it's built, and then we'll do the dimensions. Here it is taken apart. As you can easily see, we've got a captured stop pin. It's right there on the blade, right there. Slides inside, so it's not an open front here. I really like that it's not an open front. And Bandit's complaining about something. What do you need, buddy? What do you need? Ceramic detent ball, ceramic ball bearings in here, screws, very high quality stainless steel screws. No Loctite in there, that's kind of nice. A little bit bigger, that's a T8 for the pocket clip, and there's the wire pocket clip. Like I showed you before, it's on both sides. No skeletonizing here. I wish there was a little bit of skeletonizing because the balance point, I hopefully showed you the balance point before. It's a little bit further back than I prefer. Not a big deal. But other than that, very simple construction. Inset holes here for your ceramic ball bearings, which leaves little room for gunk to get inside when it's assembled. Now we got a D-shaped pivot pin, but we've also got D-shaped body pins back here. Hopefully the close-up will show those. Unfortunately, we've also got D-shaped holes. Hopefully you can see them on there. Focus. There you go. See the D-shaped holes? But those holes are way bigger than the pins, and so these pins just free spin back there. So QSP, I'm not too fond of that. Why bother putting in D-shaped pins when your holes don't fit? And it's just free spinning. So you might need 2 T6 screwdrivers. So yeah, there you go. Oh, my Micarta backspacer. There it is, and it just sort of fits. Just fits right over there like that. And that's why I like that a lot. Well made. Time to put it back together. Let's begin with the weight of this knife. What is it? 92 grams, 3 1/4 ounces. Pretty good. Oh, I didn't show you the balance point like I said I was going to before I did it. There you go. It's right there. Now, let's move my finger straight. If there's a little bit of skeletonizing, it could be up a bit more like I prefer, but it's not bad. And sharpness from the factory, 165 best. Just slightly below average, like not quite as sharp as average, but that's not a complaint. It's still very sharp from the factory. The cutting edge length, 78.7 millimeters, 3.1 inches. Blade length tipped to the closest spot on the handle. That's 81.3 millimeters, 3.2 inches. The thickness of the blade up here on the flat section, 2.98 millimeters, which is 0.117, so just a slight bit below 1/8 of an inch. This dimension, the largest depth of the blade this way, 22 millimeters, 0.87 of an inch. How thick is it behind the grind? Well, the average number is 0.48 millimeters, 19 thousandths of an inch. It's about 20 thousandths over here. It's about 20.5 thousandths up here. And right here, it's about 18 thousandths. So it does change a little bit, but hey, it's just fine. That's a good thinness behind the grind. Grind angles, this side's got an average of 22 degrees. This side's got an average of 19.2 degrees, but it's somewhat variable. This started at 17.2, ended at 21.2, so 4 degrees of change along the length. This side, not as good as the other side. Started at 18.9 degrees, ended at 25.1 degrees. That's 6.2 degrees of change along the length. Unfortunately, that's so very common under every brand name. It's just the way it is. When I sharpen it myself, I'm going to probably do this thing at 18 degrees per side. I wouldn't use this knife as a heavy-duty knife, so it really doesn't need 20 degrees per side for me, for the way I use a knife. The rest of the measurements, the handle length, I measure it like it's going straight across, and I do vertical lines on it. So this tip point to this tip point, like this, that's how I measure them. Like how it's going to feel in the hand, that's how I do the length measurement. I never explained that before, or not very often. 109.6 millimeters, 4.32 inches. The grip area, it's right at 9 centimeters or 3.5 inches, and that's slightly rounded. That's not an exact measurement because you don't have exact points when you measure the grip area. At least I can't see exact points to measure. What's next? The thickness. The thickness on the micarta, not on the screws or anything, but on the where you're gripping, 12.15 millimeters, 0.479 of an inch, so a little under half an inch. Blade depth within the grip, where's the widest point? It's right there. That is 24 millimeters, 0.95 of an inch. When the knife is closed, going into your pocket, you want to know the widest point. It's right here, 29.5 millimeters, 1.16 inches. And the total length, rounded to the nearest millimeter, it's 191 millimeters, which is just over 7.5 inches. So it's still in the small range, but it's certainly not a tiny knife, and that's quite good. Let's talk about the price. The price of these knives varies a lot. I got mine at White Mountain Knives, where you can get it too. Save 10% with coupon code CCE. The cheapest one they've got is a light brown, sort of tannish color micarta at $42. That's before the discount. This specific one, it's $53.50 before the discount. Take 10% off, makes it $48.15, about 65 Canadian for this specific model. Of course, the metal ones, the brass or copper, a little bit more. Shredded carbon fiber, a little bit more. And it depends on where you go. Actually, at White Mountain Knives, the metal ones are a little bit less than some. But, at Blades Canada, aka Warriors and Wonders, the metal ones are a whole lot more than the other one. Well, not a whole lot, but more than the other ones. So the price varies depending on where you go. In Canada, at Blades Canada, the price is about less than 10% more. After you do the currency conversion, it's less than 10% more than the price at White Mountain Knives. And so, since it's a flipper, if you're in Canada, maybe you should go to Blades Canada to get this instead of trying to get it from the United States. But in the US, this is a better price, especially with a discount code. The XL version is not much more money, and it's got a button lock. I don't know of a store in Canada that has the button lock. If you find it at herooutdoors.ca, they drop ship. So that means it's still coming across the border to get in. So be careful when you buy stuff at Hero Outdoors. My overall feeling is this thing. Very positive. I'm happy with this knife. I really like this clip. The blade shape is very user-friendly. It's very much an ODYSEE style knife. Good action, good steel, good lockup, great clip, nice lanyard hole, comfort in the hand. It's a good knife overall. But we do have pros and cons. Let's go over the cons first. Well, it's not really a con, it's a preference. I think I'd like this shape to be a little bit different for grabbing it forward in case you need to do some delicate work. But this really isn't bad. I just think I'd prefer it a bit different. So that's not a con. That's an okay thing. The con, the sharpness choil is too small. And the other con, don't bother with D-shaped pins if you're not going to make them fit properly so they're non-spinning. Those are the two cons. Another okay thing, this finish, it does leave fingerprints, but it's not so polished that it leaves very bad fingerprints. So I'd prefer stonewash, but this satin finish is pretty good. T6 screws, I don't prefer T6 screws, but these are good quality steels, so I'll let those pass. The jimping here, it's good jimping. I just wish there was a little bit more. So, that's just in the okay range. What's good? This micarta is really good. I like this blue micarta. It's really nice. The action and lockup, that's good. The lanyard hole inset is good. The pocket clip is really good. I like that wire pocket clip. And the fact they use high quality steel on the hardware, and they've got nice small badging. There's so many good things about this knife. Do you have one? What do you think of it? Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. What would you change? And what's your favorite part? Let's do some discussion in the comments. I read every comment. I reply to 99.9% of the comments out there. So there you go. Thank you to my supporters. You guys are stunning. If you didn't see who won last month, I put it on the screen at the beginning of this video, and I'm saying it now. Leo Kleinzer, you got to reply, so you got to win your gift. Mr. Fadinsky is the winner for January. Leo is the winner for December, and I'd like to get these guys some nice knives. If you want to support the channel, you can also win a knife every month, and I've got a knife sale coming up hopefully in about 2 weeks from now. And I'm saying this right around January 10th, so near the end of January, I'm going to be doing a knife sale. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Those things really do make a difference, and my allergies are acting up, so my voice sounds weird. Remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.